There's a moment right between your silence and your suffering where you look around and realize no one's coming, not your friends, not your family, not that mentor you keep hoping will notice your potential, not that partner who said they'd always have your back, just silence. And if you're really honest with yourself, it's not the silence that scares you, it's the truth inside of it, the truth that you're the only one left holding the weight. We grow up with this quiet belief that someone somewhere will step in, that life will recognize our pain and send help, that if we just hold on a little longer, if we cry a little louder, if we wait with just enough patience, something will shift, someone will show up. But they don't, and they won't, because this isn't a movie. There is no rescue team. There is no cavalry on the hill. There's only you. Now, that might sound harsh, but that's your edge. That's the line between being stuck and rising up. Because once you stop waiting, you start building. Once you stop hoping for a lifeline, you start becoming the lifeline. And from that place, you don't just survive, you lead. You grow teeth, you grow grit, you become untouchable. Not because nothing hurts you, but because nothing owns you anymore. This isn't about becoming cold, this is about becoming clear. No one is coming to save you, but that's exactly why. You're about to become unstoppable. Let's get into it. You've been told to be patient, to hang in there, that life works out eventually. But here's the truth. No one's saying out loud, patience without action is surrender. Hope without responsibility is helplessness, and waiting for someone, something, or someday is the most dangerous mindset you can live in. Because the longer you wait, the more you delay your power, the more you outsource your rescue, the more you give away that only thing that could ever truly save you, you. Radical ownership means you stop telling stories that keep you stuck. It means you stop blaming your parents for how they raised you. You stop blaming your boss for not seeing your value. You stop blaming the economy, your ex, your upbringing, your luck, your circumstances, not because they didn't hurt you, but because they no longer get to own you. Because the moment you accept full responsibility for your life is the moment you unlock the ability to change it. Let's be real, this world owes you nothing. Not a second chance, not fairness, not validation. And yet we're surrounded by people waiting to be noticed, hoping to be chosen, craving permission to step forward. You want to be noticed? Build something worth seeing. You want to be chosen? You start choosing yourself in every room, every decision, every day. You want permission? Here it is. You're allowed to stop waiting. You are not a background character in someone else's story. You are the main character, and you are also the writer, the director, the producer, the stunt double, the cleanup crew, and the audience. So when life hits you, and it will, you better have your own back. Because if you don't, who will? If you fall apart every time things don't go your way, you're training the world that you're fragile. But when you stand up after every disappointment, when you rebuild after every failure, when you show up anyway, that's ownership, that's strength, that's leadership. You are the hero of this story, but you're also the backup plan. Because no one else is coming with the answer. No one else has the roadmap. You build that with every choice you make. Every time you say, this ends with me. Every time you stop repeating the same habits that kept you broke, scared, dependent, or invisible. So how do you start owning your life like that? First, stop romanticizing struggle. Stop using pain as an identity badge. I've been through so much is not the same as I've risen through so much. Own your trauma, but don't wear it. Process it, then lead from it. There's a difference between being hurt and being held hostage by your hurt. One makes you human, the other keeps you small. Second, eliminate excuses with brutal precision, not because you don't have valid reasons, but because excuses are expensive. They cost you energy. They cost you opportunity. They cost you time you don't get back. Own your results, even the ones you're not proud of. Because when you own them, you can fix them. When you blame, you stay stuck. Third, speak to yourself like a leader would. No more I can't. It's too late. I'm not ready. What if I fail? Replace those with what can I learn? What can I try next? How do I make this mine? Your inner dialogue isn't background noise. It's your operating system. Upgrade it, own it, train it. And lastly, stop negotiating your standards. Stop lowering the bar because someone told you it was too high. Stop shrinking your vision so others don't feel uncomfortable. If you keep waiting for people to get on board before you start, you'll never start. Leadership is lonely. Ownership is uncomfortable. But you don't build legacy by playing safe. You build it by showing up day after day when no one claps, when no one supports, when no one believes except you. There's no backup plan. You are it. Your strength, your clarity, your fire. You're your own rescue mission. And when you finally accept that, when you stop praying for a hero and become the damn hero, everything changes. You start solving instead of spiraling. You start leading instead of waiting. You start walking like someone who understands that their life is theirs and they don't need to beg the world to respect it. So no more waiting, no more wondering, no more maybe someday. This is your life, your responsibility, your power. Own it fully because no one's coming, and that's exactly why you will. Life is not a gentle teacher. It doesn't wait until you're ready. It doesn't care if you had a rough childhood, a bad day, or a broken heart. It won't ask you politely if you're okay before it hits you with another curveball. It just comes fast, raw, and without mercy. And if you haven't been training for it, it will chew you up. Life is a battle, and if you're not preparing like a warrior, then you're already losing. People think strength is something you tap into when things go wrong. They think resilience magically appears in the moment of impact. But that's not how it works. You don't rise to the occasion, you fall back on your training. You fall back on the standards you've built, the mindset you've sharpened, and the discipline you've lived by every single day. The person you are under pressure is the direct result of the work you've done in silence. Training for life like it's a battle means understanding that comfort is a trap, that softness invites weakness. You don't become strong by doing what's easy. You become strong by doing what's necessary. Even when it's boring, even when no one is watching, and especially when it hurts. Mental toughness isn't built during victory. It's built in the trenches, in the quiet moments when you choose the harder path, not because you have to, but because you must. Look at how most people live. They react, they cope, they complain, they scramble when life goes wrong because they weren't ready, they weren't disciplined, they weren't intentional, they were asleep at the wheel, coasting through life with a fragile ego and no armor. And then when the inevitable storm comes, they break. Not because they're weak, but because they never trained to be strong. You don't wait for the fight to learn how to throw a punch. You prepare now. That means putting yourself in uncomfortable situations on purpose. It means waking up earlier than you want to. Holding yourself accountable when no one else, saying no to distractions that feel good, and yes to discipline that doesn't. It means training your emotional muscles, your mental reflexes, your psychological edge, because the battle isn't just out there, it's inside of you. It's the voice that says, take the easy way out. The voice that says, you're too tired, you're too broken, you're not good enough. That voice never goes away. You don't wait for it to get quiet. You train yourself to move anyway. You train until doubt loses its grip and hesitation becomes your enemy. Warriors don't need ideal conditions. They don't need applause. They don't even need certainty. They just need purpose and preparation. And if you're serious about your life, then you start treating it like the high-stakes mission it is. You stop hoping someone will show you the way. You become the map. You become the weapon. You stop looking for motivation and start becoming a machine of consistency. You build habits that hurt now so they protect you later. You read the books. You do the reps. You write the plans. You face the uncomfortable truths. You do the boring work over and over, because every rep is another layer of armor. Every disciplined choice is another bulletproof thought. Every moment you resist comfort, you build capacity. Train your mind to stay calm when others panic. Train your body to move when it wants to quit. Train your heart to stay open without becoming naive. This is how you win at life, not by waiting for it to get easier, but by making yourself stronger. You train until the things that used to shake you barely make you blink. Some people walk through life hoping they'll never face a real battle. But the truth is, the fight is coming. Whether you're ready or not, it might show up as betrayal, as heartbreak, as failure, as financial collapse, as illness, as loss. It doesn't matter what form it takes. What matters is you're ready, you've trained for the dark, you've prepared for the worst. And because of that, You can keep moving when everyone else crumbles. You don't need to be the loudest in the room. You don't need to prove anything to anyone, but you better know deep in your bones that when life hits you, and it will, you've already trained for it. You're not waiting for strength to show up. You've built it, layer by layer, choice by choice, day by day. This isn't just about winning. This is about surviving without losing yourself, about facing adversity and still walking out with your character intact. That's what the training is for. Not perfection, not applause, but readiness, grit, control, strength that can't be shaken because it was built in the fire, not handed to you in peace. So no more soft excuses, no more waiting for the right time. The battle is already happening. Train like your life depends on it, because it does. You can't afford to hand your emotions over to people who don't care enough to protect them. You can't afford to let someone else's tone, absence, silence, or approval dictate how you feel about yourself, your day, or your purpose. Emotional independence isn't about being cold or disconnected. It's about being grounded. It's about knowing how to regulate what's happening inside you, no matter what chaos is unfolding around you. Because if you don't learn to manage your own emotional temperature, the world will keep turning the dial for you. We are trained almost unconsciously to rely on others for emotional stability. From a young age, we look outward to feel safe. We wait for validation, for comfort, for reassurance, and when we don't get it, we collapse. We lash out, we spiral. Why? Because our internal system was never built to run on our own fuel. And here's the truth. As long as you depend on someone else to make you feel seen, whole, worthy, or loved, you're giving them power they didn't earn and can never use correctly. People think emotional independence means not feeling. That's a lie. The emotionally independent person feels deeply, but they don't drown. They know how to experience emotion without becoming hostage to it. They don't suppress. They observe, they sit with their discomfort, they process, they question the story behind the emotion. They respond instead of react. Think about this. If someone can ruin your entire day with a text, a look, a word, or the lack of one, you're not in control. That's not love. That's not connection. That's dependency wrapped in a toxic ribbon. Emotional independence means you can feel the sting of disrespect without spiraling. You can feel the ache of disappointment without crumbling. You can witness someone's silence without assigning it a meaning that destroys your self-worth. To get there, you have to start with radical self-awareness. What triggers you? What gets under your skin and why? What narratives do you attach to rejection, to failure, to being ignored? The goal isn't to avoid these experiences. The goal is to face them head on and separate what actually happened from the emotional baggage you attach to it. It's the difference between "they didn't call me back" and "I must not be important." One is a fact, the other is a wound talking. You also have to train your nervous system. That's not just a wellness buzzword. That's real, biological conditioning. When your emotions spike, when your heart races, your thoughts scramble, your voice trembles, you need tools: breathing, stillness, movement, grounding, awareness. You don't always need to understand your emotions to regulate them. Sometimes you just need to create enough space between the feeling and the action. The emotionally independent person doesn't rely on constant reassurance. They give it to themselves. They don't crumble when someone withdraws love. They love themselves harder. They don't sit around waiting for closure. They give themselves the ending they need. This is not ego. It's not arrogance. It's emotional maturity. You have to stop outsourcing your peace. Stop depending on people to fix your mood, your self-esteem, or your value. That's not their job. And when you make it their job, you're setting yourself up for constant disappointment. The world is unpredictable. People are inconsistent. Life is hard. Your emotional state has to be built on something stronger than approval or attention. It has to come from you. This doesn't mean you isolate. It doesn't mean you stop connecting or trusting. It means you stop collapsing every time someone fails you emotionally, because they will, not always maliciously. sometimes just because they're human. But that failure cannot wreck you if you've done the work to anchor your sense of safety internally. Start giving yourself what you keep hoping others will. Start saying, I'm proud of you when no one else does. Start saying, I see you, I hear you, I've got you, every single time you feel overwhelmed. Speak to yourself the way you wish the world would speak to you, not as a performance, but as a discipline. That's how emotional independence is built. Not all at once, but brick by brick, every day you show up for yourself. And when you become emotionally independent, you become dangerous in the best way. You're no longer easy to manipulate. You're no longer desperate for validation. You don't chase closure. You don't beg for attention. You don't tolerate emotional games. Why? Because you've learned that no one else is responsible for your peace. And once you realize that, no one can take it from you. So stop waiting for someone to come along and make you feel whole. That job belongs to you. Learn to regulate, not rely. Build the emotional infrastructure inside you that no storm can shake. And when the world pushes, when people disappoint, when emotions rise like a tide, you'll stay grounded. You'll move with clarity, not chaos. That's not just power. That's freedom. No one knows what you've endured better than you. No one understands your dreams, your doubts, or your breaking points the way you do. And that means no one is better equipped to protect you, guide you, and lead your life forward than you. Waiting around for someone to save you, defend you, fix you, or build your life for you. That's not strategy. That's surrender. Strategic self-reliance is about deciding with full clarity that you will become your own bodyguard, therapist, and CEO, not because you're all alone, but because you've stopped waiting to be rescued. Being your own bodyguard doesn't mean walking through life with a wall around your heart. It means protecting your energy, your time, and your boundaries. Like they're the most valuable assets you own, because they are. You don't let just anyone get access to you. You don't absorb every emotion in the room. You don't feel guilty for walking away from people who drain, disrespect, or destabilize you. You scan for threats, not in paranoia, but in awareness. You know what weakens you. You know what triggers your stress response. You don't play tough to impress people. You stay sharp because your peace is not for sale. Self-protection also means handling confrontation with clarity, not chaos. You don't need to yell to assert yourself. You don't need to justify your boundaries to people who violate them. You don't need to explain your worth to someone who questions it. You observe patterns. You make decisions. And when someone reveals who they are, you believe them the first time. That's how a bodyguard moves, with precision, not emotion. The protection isn't the whole story. You also need to become your own therapist. That means doing the internal work that no one else can do for you. Understanding your triggers, healing your trauma, unpacking your patterns. It's not glamorous, and it's not always comfortable, but it's necessary. You can't lead your life effectively if you're still bleeding from wounds you pretend don't exist. You can't think clearly when you're hijacked by old pain masquerading as present-day truth. Being your own therapist doesn't mean isolating or avoiding help. It means you stop depending on others to soothe every storm inside you. You become emotionally literate. You sit with your feelings instead of running from them. You learn to ask yourself, what's really going on here? When something hurts, instead of lashing out or shutting down, you take responsibility for your healing, even if you weren't the one who caused the damage. As you develop a level of emotional intelligence that keeps you from repeating the same story in different chapters. You stop blaming the world for how you feel and instead get curious. You track the patterns, you connect the dots, you rewrite the narrative. You stop saying, why does this always happen to me? And start asking, what is this here to teach me? That's what growth sounds like. That's what resilience is made of. And then there's the CEO part, the most overlooked piece of self-reliance. You are the chief executive of your life. No one else. You make the decisions, you set the goals, you manage the resources, your time, your energy, your attention. You define the vision and make the hard calls. And like any CEO, you can't afford to be led by mood swings, distractions, or the fear of other people's opinions. You lead with intention. As your own CEO, You stop waiting for someone to choose you, validate you, or give you permission. You stop chasing approval. You build your mission and execute it daily. You hold yourself accountable, not perfectly, but consistently. You check in with yourself, you evaluate, you adapt, you lead your life like it matters, because it does. That means you get organized. You stop wasting your time scrolling through the lives of people who aren't even thinking about you. You stop blaming your past for the limits you're refusing to break now. You wake up earlier if you need to. You study, you take the meeting. You train your body to feed your mind. You build a schedule that serves your goals, not your impulses. A CEO doesn't ask, do I feel like it today? A CEO says, what needs to get done, and then gets it done. You can't outsource your safety, your healing, or your progress. Not anymore. Strategic self-reliance means you become the protector, the processor, and the planner of your own life. Not out of bitterness, but out of clarity, out of strength, out of the understanding that the world doesn't owe you peace, growth, or success. You owe that to yourself. And the moment you stop waiting, the moment you realize no one is coming to carry you across the finish line, is the moment you unlock a level of power that can't be manipulated, broken, or taken away. You become dangerous in the best way. Steady, smart, clear, unshakable, because you built it all from within. So from this moment forward, protect yourself like your peace depends on it. Heal yourself like your future depends on it. Lead yourself like your legacy depends on it. Because they all do. Power doesn't always announce itself. True power, quiet, strategic, unshakable, moves in silence. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't crave validation. It simply executes. Because at the end of the day, real strength doesn't show up in noise. It shows up in results. And if you want to rise in power, if you want to become the kind of person no one can ignore, you need to learn to keep your head down, your work sharp, and your mouth shut until it's time to speak through your actions. We live in a world addicted to performance. Everyone's posting, announcing, sharing, broadcasting every move before it even happens. But while people are busy talking, the truly powerful are building quietly, relentlessly, and when they show up, they don't have to explain. They prove, they let the outcome speak so loud that no one questions the path. That's what silent success looks like. That's what unshakable power feels like. There's something strategic, even surgical, about choosing silence over spectacle. When you move in silence, no one knows what to expect from you, and that's your advantage. They can't intercept a plan. They can't see. They can't block momentum they don't know exists. You're unpredictable, and unpredictability is power. You become immune to sabotage because there's nothing visible to attack. You don't let the world weigh in before the work is done. And here's the truth. The more you speak about what you plan to do, the less energy you have left to actually do it. The dopamine rush of announcing intentions tricks you into thinking you've already made progress. But real results don't come from declaration. They come from discipline. Saying I'm working on myself means nothing if your habits haven't changed. Saying I'm going to launch this project doesn't matter if you haven't sat down to start. Silence forces you to channel your energy into execution. Silence is also how you protect your vision. Not everyone deserves access to your goals. Not everyone is equipped to understand them. When you share too soon, you open the door to doubt, jealousy, critique, and influence that can corrupt your clarity. People project their limitations onto your ambition. They minimize your dreams because they've given up on their own. And if you're not careful, you start to shrink your vision to fit their comfort zone. But when you move in silence, you're the only voice in the room. And that's where power grows, in focus, not feedback. Moving in silence doesn't mean you keep secrets out of fear. It means you're intentional with your exposure. You choose discernment over disclosure. You understand that some things are sacred, some things require incubation. Growth doesn't happen under a spotlight. It happens in the dark, where roots form deep and strong. By the time the world sees what you've built, it's already unstoppable. And silence isn't passive. It's active. It's focused. It's powerful. It's late nights spent working when no one's watching. It's saying no to distractions, drama, and detours. It's choosing the grind over the glory. It's keeping your wins to yourself and your failures even closer. It's not about hiding, it's about honing, sharpening, mastering, preparing for the moment when your presence says everything your words never needed to. Because when your results speak, people listen differently. They don't question your worth. You've proven it. They don't doubt your hustle. It's undeniable. They can't argue with numbers. Progress, transformation, you become undeniable. Because you didn't waste time trying to be seen. You focused on becoming someone who couldn't be ignored. It also protects your peace. Silence gives you space to process, to breathe, to fail, and recover without an audience. You don't owe the world an explanation every time you pivot, struggle, or evolve. You're not a spectacle. You're a strategist. And your journey deserves privacy while it's unfolding. Because not every chapter is for public consumption. Some are just for your learning, your growth, your inner transformation. And those are the chapters that build the strongest foundation. You have to decide what matters more. Looking like you're winning or actually winning? Do you want attention or impact? Do you want likes or legacy? If you want the real thing, lasting power, influence, mastery, you have to earn it in silence and reveal it only when it's ready. You have to stop feeding your ego and start fueling your mission. There's a reason elite performers don't talk, they train. There's a reason true leaders listen more than they speak. There's a reason the most impactful people aren't always the loudest in the room. Because the loudest voice rarely builds the strongest foundation. Noise distracts, silence focuses. So stop explaining your every move. Stop announcing before you've acted. Stop proving your worth to people who don't even understand the game you're playing. You owe no one your blueprint. You owe yourself your progress. Let your silence be the preparation. Let your discipline be the engine. Let your success be the noise. Because when you rise, when the results finally emerge, when the vision becomes reality, there's no argument left. They'll hear you without a word. And that silence will echo louder than any speech ever could. No one is coming to save you. And that's not a threat, it's your liberation. Because when you finally stop waiting for a lifeline, for a handout, for someone to see you, help you, fix you, you start becoming the person you've been waiting for. That's the power of self-responsibility. That's the strength of owning your path. Everything you need to rise, rebuild, and reclaim your power is already within you. But you have to activate it. You have to move like your life depends on it, because it does. You have to show up for yourself when no one else claps, no one else cares, and no one else offers a lifeline. That's how self-respect is built. That's how resilience is forged. That's how legends are born. So be the bodyguard of your peace, the therapist of your wounds, the CEO of your mission, and guard your energy, heal your past, lead your future, move in silence, rise in power, and let the results be the noise. Stop waiting, start building. It's not about proving anyone wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you are never broken. You are always becoming. Because once you decide that you are the answer, the strategy, the backup plan, and the breakthrough, nothing and no one can stop you. You don't need saving. You need you, and that's more than enough.